Welcome to this second episode of the piXL Drone Show, and I am your co-host Greg Reverdiau. We have Haye Kesteloo and we have Kara Murphy, and today we have a very special guest with Jon McBride. And Jon has been around the industry for before the industry was even an industry, I think. And I'm going to let Kara introduce our guest and tell us a little bit more, and then Jon, we can hear from you. So welcome all to the show. I'm really excited to be talking about this today.
Yeah, so Jon, thank you for being on. You have just been a huge role model and just someone that everyone looks up to. Some people know Jon as Drone Jesus, but he's better known as the founder of RMUS and probably the best reseller. Whenever there's something new, especially enterprise that comes out, Jon is the first to test it and give his honest opinion. So he is also a trusted source for the best information around. And I'm honored to call you a friend, Jon. I fondly look back at that article we did for Drone Life on the Halloween drone witch that you had, where you had an actual witch flying field. You were able to get a heavy payload going and have it fly through the field and chase someone. That was one of my favorite stories I've ever written. But excited to have you on here today because you are one of the top resellers, someone that people go to when they need new products, especially DJI. So we're excited to talk to you.
Well, thank you again for having me, and everybody. Thank you, Kara. Sometimes I really do just act the way I do and help the way I help has obviously inspired a lot of people, helped a lot of people. But at the end of the day, I do have a business to run. I have employees and people that need to learn stuff. I have technology I have to purchase and buy so I can actually get that information out there. So it is a very complicated overall business, more so than being just a drone service provider that is trying. I mean, that's even a complicated business, but trying to resell, trying to understand the equipment, try to, create training, trying to make an impact in the market that, the passion for drones, the passion and love for drones. I'm also an RC guy. So even behind me, I've got, RC airplanes. And yeah, you mentioned a witch. That is just, again, the love of the passion and the love to do things outside of the box, So everybody has taken that with me, and I love the journey. I love to see people get interactive with me and try to help them out. So I appreciate you guys all having me here.
So, Jon, the reason why we wanted to bring you on board here was last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago now, was DJI announced that they were going to sell drones, or not just drones, but enterprise drones directly to the customer. And this is a big departure from what DJI has been doing. So can you tell us a little bit more about how DJI before this date has been doing business? How does it work to get an enterprise drone? Maybe a lot of our followers may not know how you actually get an enterprise drone and what actually qualifies for an enterprise drone.
Sure. So one of the most difficult business models is trying to sell enterprise equipment, and where does that classify as enterprise equipment? Well, sometimes that comes from the manufacturer itself. That sometimes comes from RMUS saying, hey, this is classified as our enterprise equipment because of the support and the need of help and the maintenance and showing and training, all of the back end side. Now, when you come to the consumer electronics side, you go to Best Buy and hopefully the guy in the blue shirt can answer a few questions for you. Local hobby shop that might be able to help you out if you get into the, buy or purchase a drone. But the enterprise side definitely demands a higher level of understanding as a reseller, a higher level of getting into the company itself, talking to the technicians on their end, the manufacturers, and understanding those processes, as well as, myself being to DJI headquarters 6 times in Shenzhen, China, to sit down at the round table and discuss how that manufacturer could help out, with their designs or their stuff, and feedback from my customers that are all enterprise purchasers. And again, it doesn't really matter to the customer, if they buy from me, if they buy a Phantom, it's still an enterprise supported product on our level, if that makes sense. So not everybody buys equipment and has that expectation, but when you deal with RMUS, you certainly will get that expectation. And that's kind of the difference between a lot of the resellers out there, is that we have upheld this standard, which again, I get very picky and choosy about some of the brands or the drones or the technology out there, software, everything else, to really create partnerships if I don't have the level of support to help my own customers. So I'm buying from them, doing them a favor to basically educate and show how the technology works and what they're purchasing. And if I don't have that on the back end, it just makes my customers who rely on the technology later on, some are just starting, but others are highly dependent on that information now. So once that dependency is there and something has a problem, a firmware update messes something up, or there's a change in their SOP because of the manner in which the new drone flies, or adding a piece of equipment, we have to be there to help them out. So that's kind of just RMUS in general. That's why we are a little bit different than most dealers out there. And to be quite frankly, we were the very first DJI enterprise specific dealer in the United States, meaning that we didn't migrate from the hobby shop or consumer electronics and then decide to sell enterprise. We focused 100% on enterprise. I don't sell consumer electronics drones, but I do if the enterprise customer of mine demands it, and then again, it's a low margin on those items, but we build it out that back end. If they're just going to buy a Phantom or a Mavic and start their programs going, not a lot of margin there, but it's that introduction into the drone industry, if you will. And then eventually they're like, holy crap, we need a M300, we need an M600, we need something larger, bigger, better payload. So that's kind of the mantra that we've had. And now, there's 100 enterprise dealers in that space, 100 just in the Northern America. That definitely puts a crunch on how their products, DJI's products, are truly supported, and not everybody does that. So you had mentioned about reading something in one of the Facebook pages, and where my perspective comes from when DJI decides, well, we're going to sell direct. Fine, for me, that's just another dealer out there. It's just another person that will not, basically be able to uphold again our level of expectation from our customers. And sometimes people purchase from other places, then find out that they don't have that back end, and that's just kind of how it's been working for the last couple of years. And if you're not ready to diversify a little bit, to organize a little bit, to reestablish, how you're going to handle, enterprise in general, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it, So it shouldn't scare people, is all I'm saying.
Question I have for you, Jon. Can you tell us a little bit about how long you've been a dealer with DJI, and how that relationship in working with DJI has changed over the years? I mean, in the last 2 years, we've seen a lot of changes, a lot of key people that have left DJI. Can you tell us a little bit about how your relationship with the company has changed and what it has come to now?
Our very first meeting with DJI, and again, I'm a co-founder of RMUS. JT Von Lunen is actually the president of RMUS. He does make the ultimate calls overall. I do help and influence that a little bit, especially vetting the equipment that we do. But JT and I went over to China 2015, I think maybe the beginning of 2016. And like I said, they didn't know who we were. They had no idea, that first meeting. They're trying to penetrate this market and, trying to get that enterprise, idea, even on the back end on their side, they didn't really have an enterprise layer built into their, all of a sudden we're just going to call it enterprise. But, how do we deal with purchasing? How do we deal with all of the stuff that I talked about, maintenance, back end help? They didn't have that at all. And they soon figured out, adding a few more dealers in the enterprise space, they soon figured out how the United States was dealing with buying a piece of equipment from DJI that had the enterprise label on it, if that makes sense. And again, they didn't know us for nothing. Well, we took that passion again, took that want, that need. The customers really drove us to understand the equipment, show the equipment, and then all of a sudden we're impacting all of the other enterprise dealer. They get more, there's more people, and the relationship there still holds hard. I mean, we still have a great relationship with DJI, but them letting go a lot of people, them shifting, a lot of this might be very geopolitical moves, more so than, just we're not doing business now. I mean, there could be a lot of reasons behind why they changed, but through the years of 5 years of dealing just with the enterprise side, it just goes, it's an up and down cycle all the time. It's nothing different, to be honest with you. It's not. We just have to adapt. We have to move, we have to shift, and we have to change all the time. So there's not much, to complain about when they do something like this. We just have to work with it if we want to stay in business.
The question I have is, have you been impacted by the fact that the government can't really use DJI products anymore? I'm sure that probably put a pretty big dent in their sale, and obviously probably in your sales as well. Can you tell us more about how this kind of unfolded and what came out of it?
Yeah, I have my own opinion on why DJI has been such under fire. And I love to share it, but I don't want to beat anybody up. DJI has just been it's been such a huge thing in the market that all of a sudden, other people want to capture those sales. Of the 70%, 75% market share that they own across the globe, not just in the United States, but across the globe, there's nobody that's really, done what they can. And then all of a sudden, even though we've been needing back, flight log data that have been recorded, all of a sudden those are requirements for any FAA compliance or filing for certain things. They've been recording this stuff since day one. But the manner in which how you get that has been always in question. How do you, it goes to a server, so that server must be seeing what we're seeing or where we're flying or what we're doing. So, how else do you record any of that data if it's stored on the machine? And there's not a lot of manufacturers that actually do that, so they're handwriting everything down. So this is built in just to accommodate the rules and regulations at one point, right? That data that has to be saved so that people can prove what they did or where they're going or whatever it is to anyone on the authoritative side. Well, they were forward thinking in that process. I mean, I hate to say it. No other drone manufacturers were doing that at that time. When the Inspire 1 came out and all of a sudden we had this data being recorded, no one was really doing that. That's 2014, 2015 when that thing came out. But when they went ahead and started doing that, people had that perception right from the get-go, we can't be doing anything. And it's fine. I mean, I'm sorry, not that perception of good-go, but it's fine to go ahead and have that recording. But then you see things in the media, you get changes on how we're going to use that data, how they collect the data, and then bam, we've got articles coming out, we've got negative things coming out, then we have competitors saying how bad DJI is all the time, and then more geopolitical stuff with Trump, and it just keeps escalating and keeps escalating. But last night I was talking to a guy and he asked me, there's a group of people in Clubhouse, which is a new fun app, by the way. It's very time consuming. Clubhouse, very time consuming. Anyway, we're sitting there talking and I'll, what do you know? Somebody asks, hey, what drone do you recommend? Was it anything but DJI that kept coming out of the other people? Nope. Nothing that anyone else recommended. A couple of brands come up, but get a Mavic. Get a Mavic 2. Think about buying an Inspire 2. Think about, no one was throwing out there Skydios and Blue UAS, and nobody was talking about that. If you want something that works, get one of these. And that has nothing to do with my opinion or how I perceive the market. It has a lot to do with that. It works. They know it works. It's going to do what it's supposed to do what it's designed to do. And even though we run into some issues and problems with DJI and trying to get things back, they make millions of drones, millions, not 500, not 5,000, not even 50,000. They make millions of drones. And if you have only 10% failure in millions of drones, 2 million, that's 200,000 people that are having a problem with one product line. That's insane that you'd have 200,000 people complaining about DJI, but 800,000 people actually flying them around and having, or 1.8 million people actually flying them around and doing successful work with them.
Yep.
Somebody wanted some market share. That's what happened there.
Well, I don't disagree with this. I've mentioned this before as well in some of my news update. When you see very coordinated attacks on one manufacturer, one after the other, it's I don't know. It's a little bit obvious, I think.
Yeah. And so how did they meet that? How did they how did they meet that when that first came out? They made government editions. Systems that couldn't be updated, that couldn't, talk to the internet. But these already exist since day one. You can manage all of that since day one that they started doing that. So I tell people I've got over 3,000 flights on my Inspire 1. I finally retired it about a year and a half ago, but 3,000 flights. Only 340 have been recorded on DJI's actual little app. Only 340 flights exist there. But out of the 3,000 flights, you wouldn't even know I flew that many. You can't find it. You can't pull it up. You can't show it to anybody. But in the early days when they were first coming out, I used the little app to track it and see how far I go and where I was flying and everything else. And that was really neat, that you could sync all your drones and see all the drones that were flying in their little app. But you can turn all that off. You don't have to do that. You don't have to transmit that all the time. So a lot of people just don't understand that that's something you can do. But the bigger picture is like, well, if it talks to the internet, then everybody knows what I'm doing.
But Jon, is this not exactly why a enterprise dealer network for DJI is important, to be able to educate and instruct people how to use these drones, how to fly these drones, and how to make sure that their data is kept safe? Because if these options were already available and people just aren't aware of them, I mean, to me this is exactly where you guys come in to show people how these products are to be used.
I hate to say that I'm one little dealer in the very large space. And I say little dealer meaning this. Kara mentioned me as being Drone Jesus and the Drone God or whatever. I've heard Thermal Thor. I've heard all kinds of funny names that people are like, hey, dude, if you want to talk to Jon, that's the guy, right? That's the guy. But in our small industry, 107 pilots, small things that are going on in the world, we are still small. We have impact, but laws and regulations are being created around exactly what you're talking about. I read something on the internet. We're going to change a law. I have a lady that's here that doesn't like the fact that her neighbor is flying drones around her property. I'm going to change that law. I have Army and Navy and Marine Corps, which again still has DJI drones, by the way, and operating them. I have all these military-ish type things, and that usually creates a standard of some sort when it comes out like that, of like, oh, if the military thinks it's bad, then all of the corporate companies are going to think it's bad. When the corporate companies then change their minds and they don't want to buy a DJI drone, then all it filters down to all of these huge companies that have that own numerous companies. I got one company that owns 10, 15, 20 different companies, and the whole, from the top down all the way, we can't use DJI because I read an article that said the Army didn't trust the DJI stuff, and so we're just going to turn that off. So trying to educate them doesn't have really much on my, I try. I can show it, but that's after the fact. It's after the fact when I go out there, bring a different possible, product that is not DJI. And their pilots have already been flying DJI for a couple of years, but all of a sudden, here's this mandate, here's this memo, here's this, thing that says you can't fly it no more. Bring it out there, show them some other products, because that is what they have to do, purchase something else, and they start asking questions like, hey, where is this function? Well, that's a DJI function. It doesn't exist on this bird. Why does the gimbal shake around all over the place? Well, that's a DJI freaking thing that, they've figured out how to zoom a camera really well without having it jumping around all over the place. Well, why does it do, I can't do mapping with this one. Yep, there's no open SDK, so nobody has developed anything to actually do mapping with this. Yep, so by the end of the day, you're like, I don't have anything to give you except this piece of crap you have to buy. I'm sorry, sorry about that.
So was there anything on the market? I mean, you probably sell other drones, I'm sure. Was there anything else that caught your attention other than DJI? Was there a specific drone or specific anything that you see as an up-and-coming platform?
Well, there is definitely a lot of platforms that are trying to push their penetration in the market. There's definitely some focus on trying to get the if the U.S. made the blue drone idea going. But honestly, all of the blue drones are classified or were intended to be. Their specific use case was SRR, the search and recovery reconnaissance. That basically a drone that just goes over the hill and looks at something. I mean. Nothing in there talks about inspection. Nothing in there talks about mapping. Nothing in there talks about that. They developed it to basically have a FLIR camera, a RGB camera, go over the hill and look something. Well, guess who that works for? Fantastic. That public safety, fire, Overwatch. It works perfect for that. But trying to push any of those particular products into any of the other industries or any of the other verticals doesn't meet their requirements when they've already been using other systems that actually do. So that's really important to understand. Is that once we're like, hey, we developed all this money and time, we're going to put it out there, and I don't want to name names of manufacturers, but all of a sudden we're going to try to put it into another market. Well, I know well and damn well. It's not going to work well in that market. It just isn't. That's not what it was designed for. So hopefully the next iteration of Blue UAS has that kind of in mind, just a little bit. But DJI never, ever, ever said the drone that we're making now is good for X. They people figure out what it's good for. Does that make sense? Like,
yep.
Like you buy a Phantom. People didn't go, well, I just want to do, videos and images of my kids. You had a corporate company, you had public safety, you had inspection, you had oil and gas. Buy a Phantom and put it to work how they thought it was going to benefit them. That's how the industry has grown. Not like, hey, we made a Phantom for oil and gas, even though it could be. You can market it in that vertical, you can show it works in that vertical, but that's not how customers sometimes choose. So to your question, what else do we sell? Well, whatever my customers need is what we sell, so we figure out, but then again, as I talked about earlier, I have to vet that equipment. I have to look at the support of that equipment. I have to make sure that I have the ability to get access to their engineers and people just in case my customers have problems. And if I don't have that, I don't like to sell it. And that's just the plain truth,
Going back to those blue drones for a second, a big thing was those drones couldn't be made in China, so they're being assembled here in the US. Do you know if any of these drones really do not contain any parts that are made in China? Because I think that was the exact wording, right? These drones cannot contain any parts made in China. As far as I know, I'm pretty sure they still all contain parts made in China. Do you have any information on that?
Well, that's a hard thing to get away from. I don't care what anybody says. If somebody says they can't have any parts in China, well, I'll tell you right now, there is nobody that makes parts to make a complete 110% drone in the United States. Some component, some part, some chip, some piece of it is likely going to come. Even the molding of the plastic parts are not really hard. Now, I'm not saying that manufacturers are not doing that. I'm just saying it's more complicated than people are led to believe of like, well, we assembled it here in the United States, which is a different term than engineered, created, and manufactured. Those are different. You can assemble it with all the parts and pieces in the United States, but we don't have great brushless motor companies that are cheap enough that people, again, DJI's expectation. thermal camera, because that's kind of my mantra. You put a FLIR sticker on a drone, you're going to be paying 3 times the amount just because it has a FLIR sticker on it. So trying to bring anything with United States technology raises that price really high. And I'm not again bashing on our ideas or innovations, but you put that you try to source anything directly from here, it's going to be much more expensive. And God bless Skydio on their pushing into the market, especially into the consumer market, which is complicated and tough, but bless their hearts that they're trying to at least, penetrate that, and then also bring it also to an enterprise type level, But I see the biggest problem I see there is their manufacturing. Hundred thousands, millions, all these people that are out there. I have customers that have fleets of 300 to 500 drones. And if they were told tomorrow they can't fly any of the drones and I had to buy Skydios or Skydio X2s, when would I see them? I have no idea. I have no idea how fast they could manufacture anything like that in the scale that they absolutely have to,
It has always struck me as weird that there was such a focus on drones made in China. I mean, if you take a look at cell phones, right, smartphones, they're all assembled, if not in China, at least somewhere in Asia. They contain all the same components, at least, well, they don't fly, but you have the recording capabilities, cameras on board. I don't see how a drone should be treated any differently than, let's say, a modern day smartphone in that sense.
So, of course, we're coming to the geopolitical side, which also, kind of messes with everybody else all the way across the board. And if we have those issues, those problems, Americans we can't buy American. It's hard. People want in their heart to say, I bought American. They want to say in their heart and feel good that they're helping out fellow Americans. But you don't think that way when you're actually looking at American nightstand and a Chinese nightstand. And which one are you going to buy that's 2 times more expensive? You just need the nightstand. You just need the piece of technology. You just need the cell phone, whatever it is. You're not going to do that. And half the products you probably have in your home are made by countries outside of the United States. So as much as we try to think that we're doing and impacting, it's really hard to do that, especially in the drone space. So
I think there's a big pride to the fact that aviation in general in the US, not drones, but aviation in itself, we have the ability to produce aircraft, Boeing, and we have the ability to kind of be we have helicopter manufacturers, we have all of this. And the fact that we can get there with the consumer drone or the advanced drones, I think that's a pride thing. And I would love, like you said, to see the American market come up and have a drone that can compete with DJI. They have such a lead, I feel like, at this point, that it's going to take a lot of time if we ever get there. But the manufacturing is going to be tough. What would be your recommendation if we have Skydio listening and other people listening? How do they get in? How do they get into this market to compete rather than trying to put down DJI, which I feel like sometimes that's what is happening? How do we innovate to the point where we can beat DJI?
That's a great question. Actually, an absolutely fantastic question. When you have to lead your marketing tagline of "Don't buy Chinese, put your trust in us," that's a terrible tagline for marketing. I just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
The Chinese are the bad people. The Chinese, they're terrible. They're humanitarian. All these other things. Well, that's a bad tagline. You can't put that against, if you compared to the only thing people are doing to get that, and I've seen Skydio videos that are like, this is why it's so much better than a Mavic. This is why it's so much better than a Phantom. This is why it's so much better. You can't do that. We don't do that. We advise our customers, this is going to be the best solution according to your requirements for the job. If that is going to meet those requirements, I'm going to suggest this drone. If for some reason that we then suggest something and there's flight failures, there's issues, we can't get them, well, then you're going to be cut off my chopping. I can't support it. So And again, I'm supporting my customers. I'm not supporting me. I'm supporting the customer that all of a sudden has a bunch of issues. I don't send people back to DJI. We facilitate all that communication because it can be very complicated and everything else. But for these other manufacturers that are coming up in the United States, to meet that hole, to market themselves as being like, look how much better we are than DJI, we're years away from that, really in the scale of it. Maybe not the technology of it, because Skydio has something really awesome. I love Skydio's stuff. You know, their ability to do the obstacle avoidance is beyond, you know, what any drone can do. But that's it. You know, there isn't anything else. Skydio cameras are pretty good. The Skydio platform is pretty good. But I need, 300 of them tomorrow. Crickets.
Yeah.
Crickets,
Not going to fulfill.
No, and the X2, we're excited about the X2. Everybody wants to get ready for the X2, but same thing. We've been talking about it for a year, I just barely seen one fly the other day,
Have you seen that latest drone from Parrot? I mean, that's another company, by the way, that's been saying the same thing, that you shouldn't trust drones from DJI in their marketing language. Have you seen their commercial or enterprise drone, and how did that perform?
So that's the what they call the Anafi USA. The Anafi USA is actually a good product. They're not it's a good product in the manner that the idea and the conceptual idea of trying to get it out there. But remember, on the back end, what was it designed for? Why did they make it? They also met the SRR demand there too, as a blue UAS. So that's what it's for. But when we push it into other markets, it might not be great. How you manage it in high winds or their manufacturing, their scale. We've got to look. They've actually been making drones longer than DJI, in a sense. But they also, they also have some issues on the QA side. And again, I'm not trying to beat them up. I'm certainly not. I have a great relationship with Parrot, but they have to put that hold up there of this is the expectation of enterprise people, and DJI tripped over their feet for the first year with us. Of like, hey, we're enterprise, so we're going to charge more money. Yeah, but if I sell that to somebody, you better be ready to back that up. With the support. And if we have that issue, with other manufacturers, then I keep saying it. If they're not going to support me, I have a hard time supporting them. That's got to be a dual relationship there to help people get these into the market and change the way they do stuff.
I did have a question. Do you see any traction with OTEL products? I notice top guys like Douglas Spotted Eagle really rooting for them all the time, or really just promoting it. And I don't know. I'm curious what you think of OTEL, especially since they don't have geofencing. I think a big issue with DJI products, or what some people find, is the geofencing. Some people don't like that. Do you see any uptick in sales on OTEL products, or what's your opinion?
Well, let's go back a little bit with my OTEL history and the people that basically really tried to bring that brand into the United States. At the end of the day, it is 100% Chinese made and Chinese engineered. We got a guy that actually brought the product into the United States to sell. This was back in the X-Star, when the OTEL X-Star came out. At that time, the equivalent of pushing against DJI was the Phantom 3. They made a couple of different OTELs, or a couple of different X-Stars that would compete directly against the Phantom 3. Within after release, OTEL released, a month later, here comes the Phantom 4. So many things that made that ship badass, the Phantom 4, that they really lost the market there with pushing against the 3. All of a sudden, here comes the 4, and everybody wanted the 4. So we ended up buying a number of those units back then, and they didn't really go anywhere, unfortunately. We had and this was back in the distribution time. So RMUS did start as a with a distribution mindset in the model community, into the RC, hobbyists and stuff like that. So reselling to them is kind of where it started, way before we went ahead and dedicated to enterprise. Anyway, great guys, great group of people, but unfortunately your product is not selling. And it's not selling because it's not good. It's not selling because everybody wants the latest and greatest, newest thing. And if your camera is just a little bit lower par than what's now currently available, that's what they're going to buy. And in the consumer electronics space, that's a really complicated thing to try and push against or do. So that's my history with Autel. Great company, great people, and we move forward. Unfortunately, they didn't put a lot of products in between the X-Star line and the Evo line that really impacted the way people were buying stuff from us. Again, we don't play in the consumer electronics space unless people absolutely need that product. So Autel has done a great job kind of just being in the background, creating products here and there. But Autel is a much bigger company than just making drones. I don't know if you guys knew that they are a big company that makes more than just drones. They have all kinds of stuff they do in China. But it's not considered a Chinese drone. And this is, again, I'm not bashing on the perception, but there are 10 different manufacturers that I can name off the top of my head that are not on the list of they're Chinese and they're going to steal our stuff that people use all the time, But DJI has definitely been underneath that microscope. Autel has been slowly flying underneath that radar, to be quite honest, And then they made some strides after seeing what DJI was dealing with to basically get that perception that we're not just engineered, created, manufactured, and done in China. We actually have, the ability to do that here in the United States. And so the product itself, fantastic. I've got two of them actually sitting right here next to me. I've got the Dual and I've got the 6K. I've got the Live Deck. I've got all of it. And I created a whole training platform recently and have all of the training that I've made specifically for that platform. And hopefully people outside of who I sell to are actually taking that training to learn a little bit about the Autel ecosystem and how it works. Great guys, simple on my end. I don't have that real, high touch end engineering. I haven't been over there to go visit them, but in the United States, that's how it should go. Simple, easy. I order a product, it shows up, it's out the door to my customer after taking some, getting that support. So that's where they're at, Kara. I absolutely love Autel.
Question I got for you, John. I mean, not too long ago, DJI launched the DJI Mavic 2 Enterprise Advanced, and now we know online that sells for $6,500, available to anybody, you would say. Can you tell us a little bit about how that drone has been received and how it's been selling since it's been launched?
The Advanced itself, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I get them, we'll know. So, have we got a lot of pent-up demand for it? Absolutely. But why? Why is the demand there? Why is it I'm not selling, or we haven't had a lot of people, jumping on the bandwagon for other products? I'll ask you that. That's my question to you. Why do you think people are wanting it?
I would say because it's a very capable, compact, affordable drone with a pretty damn good thermal camera. And I don't know if there's anything else at that price point that really competes with this drone.
That's the only reason why people are interested in it. It's cheaper than anything else. Now, even though it has a good sensor, it's a 640. People have put that standard there of like in thermal, you can't do anything with less than 640, which is, I'm a thermal guy. That's pretty much horse crap, without saying the bad word. You can do amazing things with a low end sensor. You don't have to have 640 or the high end. But if you want to do certain things, yes, it's going to demand that. But the price point, it always comes down to the price point. And that relationship between DJI and FLIR, they made some great products at the beginning, getting thermal cameras on that. But you look at the price of those, just a single XT camera without anything to fly it started at $9,000 at the low end,
Yeah.
$9,000. Now we're a number of years ahead, and they were able to get sensors manufactured in China. And do you care that it was made there? No. It's cheaper. It's not more expensive. Do you mind it? Do you care that it's got the FLIR brand on it? No. That neither does anyone else, So, and again, not bashing on FLIR, not bad mouthing the company at all, but they make more expensive products. That's just what it is. Will it perform exactly like FLIR or exactly like the radiometric imagery that we're used to? I've got one, again, Autel, the Mavic Advanced, sitting right here. I have been testing it, and there's some things to be desired in the inspection side of things. But as far as public safety drone, get it up there, easy to mobilize, good sensor, perfect. It's fine for that.
When do you expect to receive them in larger quantities? I mean, is there any specific reason? I mean, are we waiting for a date, or is DJI facing any supply issues with the Advance as well? Because we know that something like that is going on the FPV side, and I'm wondering if that's happening. The supply issues elsewhere with DJI as well, and maybe that's why the Advance is not available in larger quantities yet.
I haven't heard that yet. We're still on track to possibly get them here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, but that can change. You never know with DJI. It really can. Again, we just have to kind of be patient. I've never been one to sit there and, bite my lip at what was coming up next from DJI. They send me prototypes all the time of stuff. When the production version comes out, that's when my real testing begins. I can evaluate and give you some insight on how it performs. But again, as Kara said, I'm a very honest, person that will tell you what it's going to be good for, what it's not going to be good for. But again, I'm typically playing with a prototype software, prototype firmware, prototype back-end software, how to process, how to do. And I don't always have the best answers or feel like, yeah, this is going to change the world for you. I always have to wait for the product to actually be in the, a production version, because they can change, as you say, they can change chips, they can change sensors, they can change things from prototype to actual production. That can happen. I've seen it happen with many a manufacturer, that this was flying great when you spent a whole bunch of money developing it, but when it came to sourcing all the parts and pieces, there's something wrong. It don't act like the one you sent me, and that is a problem, overall. That's not a huge problem, but it is a problem to then start putting out information on my end of like, here's the Advance. It's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. I've got one and blah, 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 blah. I just try to stay away from that a little bit. I don't do that. So I mainly just say I have it. And that's usually enough. I have it. I'm testing it. I'm evaluating it. I'm looking at it. People are like, well, what do you think? Send me a data set. Tell me some video. Show me some stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, we're getting there. We'll get there. We'll get there. Then all the other dealers are trying to show, oh, man, buy it. Get it. Make sure you order. Pre-order. And I just have learned from that idea that it doesn't work very well, to do that. So we have to be very careful.
So testing a product takes a lot of time, because I've done that with drones that just came out, and I'm like you. I don't like to just come out and just say, hey, I'll give you my first opinion, but then you got to wait until I go through the thing and then review and make sure that it works the way that I want it, and then I'll give you my opinion. But how much time do you spend out of your day, out of your week, on average, testing product, getting familiar with the software and learning the drone in itself? That's got to be a big part of your day and your week, I would expect.
Oh, absolutely. Usually I'm doing that on the weekend on, just trying to do that. That's the passion of wanting to learn, every day people are like, hey, Jon should know this, whatever the question is. And sometimes I think people are just lazy. They want the quick answer. They don't want to really take the time to find it out, and some people truly do struggle with whatever their problems or whatever their needs are. For me, if I tell you, hey, don't do this, what is the value to that? Don't connect it. Don't firmware. Don't do that. It could shut down your drone. It could have a problem. And all of that testing, all of that checking, all of that looking, making sure might save you $10,000 because I already tested it. It went out of control. It crashed, whatever, in the testing phase, right? And I'm telling you today, don't do that because I already experienced this problem, and that's a value to somebody, right? But I don't get money out of that. I don't get paid for that. That's just my own need or desire to learn about the stuff that I'm going to sell, the stuff that I'm going to, put out there, and I do have a team of individuals that help me with that. I'm not the only guy that does that. I've got project leads inside my shop. My technicians, specifically might have a product that they're working on or testing or running, and then give me feedback on that. I deliver to the world what the issues might be or what their problems are going to be, or if it's just working well and there's no problem. I have technicians that help me with that as well. But as I said, I've got all the drones sitting over here just hanging out, because I have a weekend coming, which I'll probably be doing all kinds of testing, so.
That's the fun part.
How many people are at RMUS right now?
So I currently, with all the founders, I have a staff of 14 people. So there is a partnership on the top level of co-founders. There's 4 of us, JT being the primary, Ryan Wood being our sales VP, and Corey Kirkwood that does all of our financing, basically tells us how to spend money. And you always need that. You need that person. But then on the bottom end, when we have all of our employees, a lot of these guys, come from the RC world. They were, I had a hobby shop for nearly 10 years. And a lot of these guys worked for me. When we first began RMUS, I needed people that actually communicated and talked the way I did, could understand what a lithium polymer battery, what an ESC is, how to, set up the remotes, all things like that. I needed people like that. I didn't need high-end engineers. I didn't need, mechanical and electrical engineers and overpay people for, well, I'm an electrical engineer and $100,000 a year. I was just like, hey, let's just have fun doing this. If I can pay you better, if I can pay you, have you buy your own home or take care of your own stuff, that was kind of the mantra. That was kind of the idea, that to have a fun place, but still fly, because we were all involved in the hobby, in some capacity, and most of those guys still do. But that's kind of where it began, Kara, is just a passion to try and do it. And of course, you got JT, who has done a great job showing the world what RMUS is and what we can do, and why we are who we are. And I just happen to be the front man because I talk well. I, can explain the technology. I've been doing it for 20 years, at least in the level of putting a flight controller or something to manage how you actually fly, an RC aircraft, which I have behind me, that is not easy to fly, and putting something in there to help you or assist you. That's been almost 20 years now. RC helicopters, airplanes, all kinds of stuff that I used to do that with in the beginning. Then it turned into the multi-rotor. And, I used to make my own gimbals. I had to make my own antennas. I had to make a lot of things, source stuff. And my very first product I ever bought from DJI was the Ace 1 flight controller for an RC helicopter. And that was $11,500. But it was a huge benefit, because the flight controller we were using was 7 pounds and about as big as a briefcase. And most of the payload, was just that, was just the flight controller. American made, $29,000. Holy crap. Come to DJI, first product is this thing I see online, basically, or in those early days, I just see this video on YouTube, or, and I'm like, hey, I that's what I need. I need something smaller so I can carry bigger loads that doesn't have take up so much space, So I probably have emails directly from Frank Wang back then somewhere, explaining to me, because everything was in Chinese. There was hardly anything in English trying to set that thing up, but it performed fantastic. It made a difference and miniaturized the flight controller side to allow larger payloads, bigger batteries, and being able to develop that way. So,
well, we are getting close to an hour, and it goes by quick when we have fun. Was there any other questions from our co-hosts that you have for Jon?
Yeah, I have a quick one. Do you think DJI putting these prices and publicly selling their enterprise products now, do you think that's going to have an impact on the resellers? The way I see it, I believe personally that some of these businesses have a personal relationship with you already, and they know that if they have any issues or questions that they can immediately reach out, and you have a long-standing relationship. Do you think this impacts the reseller community at all?
Again, we have a different way we do stuff, as I've explained, several times here. We have a different way. If you're just going to be a reseller that just sells a box and here you go, and you made a margin on that, and enterprise equipment, does have an okay margin. And for some people, I've got 14 people. I spend money. I've probably got $200,000 to $250,000 just in R&D equipment. There's no, if you're just reselling the box to make a couple bucks because you're selling it out of your shed or out of some small shop, or some people don't even, they don't support it. They just don't. Unfortunately, I have no advice other than changing, the way you go. The one thing about enterprise, when I first started with DJI, they didn't want to publish any of the prices. They said, well, the dealers can kind of just decide what they want to sell them for. I'm like, what? Like what? That was the beginning. And then you start seeing bids and things, you have competitive bids, all my sales guys talking to people for months on end about what should I buy, what should I do. I've watched all of Jon's videos. You guys obviously know what you're talking about. And all of a sudden there's a bid that goes against us, and they're, $10 over cost. What the hell? Like a lot of the smaller companies, they bought $100,000 worth of DJI, and they got to get rid of that. They got to make their house payments. They got to make their bills. They got to, it's $100,000 just sitting there. They'll get rid of it just to get rid of it. And unfortunately, that does put a strain on the customer. To be honest with you, I didn't agree with this initial thing at the very beginning of not posting pricing directly from DJI. The fact that they sell it is not really much of a big deal for me, but the fact that they never publish the pricing. People would get a new enterprise product announced, and you got all these dealers in the Facebook pages. DM me, send me a thing, and I can't tell you in the Facebook group, but I can tell you on the side. I can tell you over here. That's the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen. A policy that they created, because they're not, again, engaging in the way that you would expect them to for a customer that's about to spend $10,000 or $15,000. If you could just tell them straight up, they'd already just take that knowledge back to their organization and let them know, hey, this thing's like 15 grand. We got to have something like that. That's the budget. But if you talk to Jon, it's $15,000. But if you talk to so-and-so from dealer X, it's like $11,000. But you talk to this guy, it's like $13,000. Well, how much is it? So they instilled the UPP policy, if you guys are familiar with that. They basically said, everybody needs to sell the same price. There are certain products that you cannot sell for less than. And they established a UPP policy with 100 dealers across the United States who still violate that quite badly. They still do. If we're all on the same page, why are you buying from me versus buying from Drone Nerds or buying from Fly Motion because we have created a relationship and established a relationship with you that is important to you as a customer. You can feel, that, hey, that's why I want to buy from these guys. But if they don't even control that, at some level or some capacity, DJI, and take away those abilities to sell, well, why would it matter if they post the images or post the price online? Nobody cares. That's where I'm at, Carrie, is that Will it really matter? Well, now you know what the budget is, right? Now you know exactly what it should be. So if you see one over that price, well, then somebody's trying to take you, man. And that is happened. That has happened in the past, because they haven't really controlled that. So again, we're back to the positive side of what DJI did for me. Put the pricing out there, so you don't get duped, So that's it. That's it. And everybody plays fair.
Maybe as a last question, Jon, what is your favorite drone right now? If you're going to go out flying this weekend, what drone are you going to first grab to fly with?
Well, that's a great question. Well, let me just put it in this perspective. I manage probably 30 different drones in the enterprise side, 30 different ones from my business. I don't always have a favorite. I think it's fun to test them all. I also have around 50 to 70 RC airplanes and about 12 to 15 RC helicopters. I say 12 to 15 because I'm actually sitting here working on one right now that I need to put back together. So there's others that are in different whatever. So I don't really have a favorite. I really don't. Unfortunately I don't. I love them all. Have I had ones in the past that were just awesome? Yeah, I mean, come back to the Inspire one. That was like my favorite ship to fly around and still is. But I had to retire her because I couldn't get batteries anymore. Not the batteries, but I just didn't have batteries. I wasn't going to buy anymore. And that was my personal drone. And I love that bird. I mean, that was a fun bird. M600 is probably my second favorite of just what we've been able to do with an M600. But this weekend, I've got to test the Bobby Watts Innovations bird, the Prism. I've got another guy bringing to the field where I enjoy my hobby, a hybrid type drone that runs gasoline with electric. He's going to bring that down so I can help him figure out what's going on. So that might be a fun drone to fly around, is a hybrid gasoline electric conversion. And, like I said, every day I'm learning more. Every day I'm finding out more about what's going on in the industry and how that technology, where things are going. And I love being in it. There's no doubt about it. I absolutely love it. So.
Yeah, I think we all have the same passion. I don't think you can be in aviation, quite frankly, in general, without having that passion. Eventually it fades away and then it just becomes a job. But I'm the same way as you are. I wake up every day. I don't go to work. I go do stuff with drones and airplanes, and it's just awesome. Well,
yeah, we could talk all day about getting paid for it and doing that, but I agree. When I get in my vehicle and I'm like, I'm on my way to work and I got a bunch of drones in the back and we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do with it today, and I'm gonna make a video real quick that shows or talks or tells, or make a training video. I mean, that's all great stuff. I love it, and it's really hard for people to look at it. My partners definitely, we've got a business to run, but for me, I still play in that field of just, I like showing up every day, and they do too. I'm not saying that they don't. They like showing up every day too, but everybody in the shop loves showing up every day and trying to impact how we, manage our way through this drone industry, and it's still fairly fragmented and still fairly, difficult and rules changing and things changing all the time. But we just, if you're passionate about it, you'll just make your way through it. And hopefully you can make some money while you're doing it, while you're having a good time doing it.
Yep. Agreed. Anything else from anybody else? All right. Well, Jon, really appreciate your time. This was very insightful. Love hearing all of your experience and talking about all the different manufacturers. So I think we're going to end the show for right now. All of you that are listening, this is available on YouTube. We have a channel. Just type piXL Drone Show and you'll find it. And then it's also available on podcasts. So your favorite podcast provider, you'll be able to find this. You can listen in the car, in the shower, anything, whenever, wherever. So thank you all for your time. And this will be going live on Tuesday morning. So we will see you guys on Tuesday morning. And that's all I have for now. So goodbye.